Happy Friday, everybody. Jim Williams here with Chris King, and we're going to delve into all the fun stuff that we have coming up today and over the weekend, and hope that you're enjoying the lovely weather as it seems to be warm and comfortable all over the United States. If you're trying to watch us in Brazil, I did understand when I logged in that Brazil is having trouble with YouTube. So if you can't find us in Brazil today, I'm terribly sorry. I know we have a lot of fans in Brazil, but just hang with us, folks. We'll see you a little bit later. Okay. So anyway, Chris, you've now got air conditioning at Casa de King, which is good, and
Right.
so all is comfortable back at the lair.
Yeah, I can't complain. I got Statler and Waldorf basically over here trying to jump into the camera every 5 seconds. That's basically what I should have called them.
Those are the lucky cats, not to be confused
Yeah.
with black cats that aren't lucky. So here we are on a Friday, and it's been a good. Yesterday was a very good day.
Yeah, it was. Can't complain when you have a bunch of guys, a bunch of teams that actually hit for you. Both the two teamers on the show hit, the four teamer hit on the show, including, we talked, I think it was James asking about the Rockies yesterday before first pitch. So hopefully he got his bet in on that one. As the Rockies won 8-5, as Blake Snell continues to pitch poorly but get paid a bunch of money.
There you go. Well, Marlo, good to see you. We have a guest in the green room. And before we get to the guest, real quick, we'll do a little housekeeping here. And then we'll get to our guest, who is Steve Kinsella, and he'll tell us where he's hiding in North Carolina. But first, let's talk about Bet MGM. Now, they have a promo going on, and it's a good one. What happens is, if you're a first-time bettor and you download the app, you make a wager of anything from $10 to $50 to $1,000. And if for some reason it doesn't work, then you're safe because they get you up to $1,000. So it's a great deal. By all means, check it out. Again, it's for first-time users. Use the BetMGM app, or you can do it via computer. The show link, the link to BetMGM is in our show box below. When you get down there where it says hit more, just hit more. It drops down. You'll get it easy. Okay. Now, remember the one thing we always tell you, and that very most important thing is, by all means, always, always, always bet responsibly. Our guest today, longtime buddy of mine and somebody who knows a great deal about baseball, the one, the only, Mr. Steve Kinsella from Sports Talk Florida. Steve, welcome.
Hey, I'm trying to move around so I get this light so it's not right on me, but I'm not in North Carolina. I am near the border of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Oh my.
Yeah.
You look out the window and see 3 states.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've walked through about 3 states.
What, to get to that room? No,
No, just walking around. When I wake up in the morning, I go for long walks.
Well, there you go. Just make sure that have a GPS to get you back.
It's called One Route.
One route out and one route back. Good plan.
That's it.
Steve, we're getting to close to the All-Star break here, and what are some of your observations so far?
Well, it's since the beginning of the season, it's basically been like a 4-pack of teams that everybody seems to be chasing. And that's, of course, the Mets and the Dodgers. In the National League, tightened up by the Braves of late. Padres pressed a little bit earlier. In the American League, it's been a Yankees and Astros. And what I always say is, there's 2 seasons, like in any other sport. There's your regular season, and then there's your postseason. The Braves weren't a great regular season team last year. They were a great postseason team. But, right now, the Big Four, I just identified the Big Four. And each week that goes by, I try to say who can catch who in these races. And if I'm going to Vegas, who am I laying money on to win their respective divisions or pennant?
You came to the right place. Yes.
I think those 4 would probably be where the smart money would be right now. Prior to the year when I was on another one of the shows, I had mentioned, go ahead and lay money on the over Seattle win total. I was big on the Mariners, and they got off to that slow start, but they're making me look better now that they've picked it up.
Well, there you go. That's why it's 2 seasons. Chris, you got any questions before we get started here?
Well, I mean, obviously, Steve, knowing Tampa Bay as well as you do, you saw Shane Baz just went down for 4 weeks with an elbow sprain. What are the Rays going to do to try and bolster that pitching staff behind McClanahan as they try to hang on to a wild card spot in what's basically become a crowded field?
Well, I have a general rule when I look at, Shane Baz to me, and I hope there's no Rays fans here that get upset with me. It's not a huge loss. You're not trying to replace Shane McClanahan, Drew Rasmussen, or Corey Kluber, or Jeffrey Springs out of this rotation right now. That's not who you're trying to replace. You look at the body of work of Shane Baz and you say, okay, can Luis Patino, Ryan Yarbrough, Josh Fleming, Yanni Torino's coming back from injury, even a Brendan McKay as a dark horse, can he come up and do something? What kind of inning can they get from anybody else? Back in 2018, this Rays team won, I think, 90 games and with about 3 starting pitchers. And basically, when you're the Rays, if I were the Rays, if I was in that room with all the brain trust, I would be looking at the Cleveland Indians back in 2016 when they went out. I think they got him in 16 when they went out, got Andrew Miller. Take care of the back end of that bullpen and become dynamic in the back end of the bullpen, because right now the Rays starters will be fine. The back end of that bullpen on a nightly basis, you're turning to Jason Adam, not a great track record. Nothing wrong with his performance this year, but track record's what I'm talking about. Jalen Beeks doesn't have that track record. Colin Poche, those 2 guys are coming back from not pitching last year. Nick Anderson isn't even going to pitch in the complex league till June 26th. Pete Fairbanks is just coming back this weekend, and he hasn't pitched at all this year. You start going through the Rays bullpen. Firerson's not anywhere near throwing yet, so he's a little bit ways off. Cody Reed's just in the complex league. So if I were the brain trust, there's 2 things I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for depth in the outfield because Kiermaier and Margot are gone, and Luke Raley, to me, Vidal Brujan, they're not kind of the answer. So I'd be looking at marginal type outfielders. An example would be not an Andrew Benintendi, who I would love. If you can get him, go get him. But I'm talking like a Cole Calhoun type, kind of that ilk. Jordan Luplow type, that you could just go out there and put him out there, and he's better than Luke Raley. He's a better option to give you a little depth. And the other thing is, if you're in the American League and you're going to be going up against New York or Houston, that bullpen needs to be like locked down and have a million different angles to it. They have it now with Brooks Raley and Poche and Beeks and Adam and Ryan Thompson. They have the different looks, but they really need to go out there and find arms that can come in and shut down the opposition.
We're going to go real quick to our first game, and you can it's one where I know that now Steve, I know is from the Cleveland area. Okay. And I know that you suffered through many years with the Indians that I used to do the games. And now it's the Guardians. Do you have any Guardians gear?
No, I don't.
You refuse? Yeah.
No. I really, when I move, I'm the weird guy. When I moved from Cleveland to Tampa Bay, it was all Tampa Bay. There was no more Cleveland in me.
Right.
My fandom of the Guardians or the Indians, it just kind of dissipated. I follow them because I talk to my mom about them.
Okay.
My mom, she gets mad at me like 6 or 7 times a year when the Rays and the Indians play each other. I get, I'm the horrible son because I don't want Cleveland to win. But they're an interesting team. For fun, the most interesting player on the Guardians to me is, will Franmil Reyes be the Jorge Soler of this season? Move to another team, and he's having an awful year. I think he's a 40% strikeout guy. Does he suddenly become, Franmil Reyes the Great if they deal him for a short period of time, like in the postseason, like Soler did last year? That's just something, neither here nor there, but that's my Guardians thought.
Franmil Reyes makes Rob Deere look like a contact hitter.
Hey, up in Detroit, when they had Deere, what was it, Deere and Inclavilla, or was that in Texas?
That might have been Texas, but I remember Inky, and you see all those guys. They could probably get $10 million a year now.
They probably could. A predecessor to all that would be Dave Kingman,
right?
And then there was also the shortstop from Milwaukee in the 2000s that struck out like 200 times a year. I'm trying to remember his name, unbelievable strikeout king. I mean, shortstop for Milwaukee, ended up playing for Cleveland in the late 90s as a waiver pickup or a trade deadline pickup. And I'm sorry his name's escaped me, but you guys will think of it. I know you're both smart guys.
And, going back to Cleveland, Corey Snyder was another guy that used to strike out a lot.
Let me tell you, Corey Snyder, the big thing about him on sports radio back in the great Pete Franklin days, the biggest thing that Corey Snyder had working against him was supposedly he wouldn't listen to the hitting coaches. He would only listen to his dad. His dad was his hitting coach, and he wouldn't listen to anybody else, and it caused a lot of friction with Corey Snyder and the organization. A lot of people believe that's why he was dealt.
Well, I used to do the games when the guy who everybody was looking as the savior was the rookie they brought up by the name of Von Hayes.
Yeah.
And many remember Vaughn. Of course, at that time, the third baseman was the human rain delay himself, Mr. Hargrove. And I was I was in the locker room one day. Mike Fetchko, who used to be the director of broadcasting, I was on my way to get some stats from him, and he said, "Well, let's dip into the locker room. I got to take some balls in here to have them signed to go off to the balls are being given out to Children's Hospital." And so it was right near the trade deadline, and he tosses a ball over to Sutcliffe, and Sutcliffe is starting to sign it. And halfway through, he goes, "Rick, you don't have to sign it." And he goes, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, you got traded to Chicago." And he goes, "What?" And he goes, "You didn't talk to Gabe on the way in?" And he goes, "No." He says, "Forget what I said. Go talk to Gabe." So, I happen to be in the weirdest of all places. He's signing an autograph and realizes he just got traded to the Chicago Cubs. So, there you go. Things happen. Andre Thornton played on that team. It was
I know the whole team. That trade had Sutcliffe and Ron Hassey going over to the Cubs, and the Cleveland got Joe Carter,
right,
and they got the infamous Mel Hall and George Frazier,
right,
and a guy named Eric. One more pitcher, and it doesn't matter.
You're right.
Got Don Schultz in that trade too.
Don the Rock Schultz.
Right. Now, Rye says that Von Hayes was with Philly, and he's right. He was.
5 for 1.
And here's an interesting thing for you, Mariah, and maybe even for you, Steve. The opening, when they opened the Trop, they brought Von Hayes over because there wasn't a field there. Okay, it was just concrete. And what they wanted to do was to show everybody, where home plate would be, and they made a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
And they brought Vaughn over to shag some fly balls. And Bo was hitting it to him. So it was Larry Boa. And Boa had a fungo bat, and he's whacking the balls out there. And Vaughn, I don't think Vaughn caught one of them because he lost them. He lost it in the dam in the roof. And it was from that point forward they realized they had to darken the roof because at that point it was almost translucent and he couldn't see anything. So yeah, Von Hayes had a very big impact, if nothing else, on the Trop from a standpoint of making sure that the roof was colored in. But there you go. And Rye loves Boa. Who doesn't love Boa? He's a great guy. Now we got the Indians and the Tigers tonight. And, Chris, why don't you go through what you like about it? And Steve, feel free to comment.
I should have shifted the number at the top because it's actually minus 175 and plus 120. I just forgot to change it this morning. Obviously, Detroit bad. They don't do much offensively. They made Tristan McKenzie look very good yesterday. Struck out 12 and 8 shutout innings. I know everybody's going to say, well, McKenzie hasn't given up a run in 21 innings in July. Well, it doesn't matter because the Tigers probably haven't scored 21 runs in the month of July. You look, they're dead last in runs per game, 3.14. They're dead last on the road, too, just 2.63. I swear Zach Plesac has got to be one of the least supported pitchers in the league. 9 of his 16 starts, Cleveland scored 3 runs or less. But he gets to face Drew Hutchison, who's A, not very good, and B, won't get any run support. Detroit's lost 5 of 6 on the road, 6 of their last 7 overall. I get the Tigers have won 7 of the 10 meetings. But if Cleveland doesn't make hay in this series and gain some ground on Minnesota in the Central, it could be a tough second half for the Guardians. I just think that they're better than Detroit. And I think they should get the win here rather easily because, like I said, Hutchinson hasn't been great. And Cleveland, if they get a lead, they can shut them down, especially with Class A in the bullpen and, Eli Morgan and the rest of those guys. I just don't have any faith in the Tigers lineup.
Yeah, if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that the Tigers offense with Javi Baez, Robbie Grossman, who had a very good year last year, Jeimer Candelario, another guy that had a really good year last year. You had the first baseman coming up. I don't know why I'm escaping his name. Spencer Torkelson. Riley Green, I understand he got injured to start the year. They went in, at the time I didn't understand. I understood acquiring Austin Meadows. I didn't understand giving up Paredes. I mean, I get it. The draft pick in the deal kind of blew my mind. Couldn't believe they threw a draft pick in. But if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that the Tigers were going to have this much trouble scoring runs, even bench guys like Willie Castro, went into the tank. And I don't see him all turning it around tonight, against Plesac. So, until the Tigers can get some consistency going again, I think I would agree it's going to be a tough road. When you look at the Tigers this year and you say, and I could be speaking out of school, but if I tell you that Miguel Cabrera is probably the most impressive hitter on that team, at his age, and he's not exactly the high slugging percentage Miguel Cabrera anymore. But I just can't believe that everybody went in the tank all at the same time on that squad.
Yeah, you look at their lineup, and Torkelson's hitting 199, Baez is hitting 218, Candelario's at 191. Then you've got Grossman's at 205, Tucker Barnhart 212, and Shoop is hitting 217. I mean, like you said, Cabrera's hitting 290. He's only got 3 homers, but he's still second on the team in RBIs at 34.
Yeah, and even if you don't like batting average, which I'm not a big batting average guy, but if you lined up the OPS plus numbers down that same lineup, if you went to the OPS plus numbers, you're going to see less than 100 almost all the way down, some embarrassing low.
Yeah, Barnhart's 53, Torkelson's 59, Candelario 64. Cabrera's at 96, so at least he's almost league average.
Almost league average. Yeah, for anybody listening that doesn't know, OPS plus is skewed to 100 being league average. 96 is 4% below league average, of course. Like a 104 would be 4% above. Just a different way of looking at things relative to the rest of the league and the park you play in. But when you just put those numbers up there, it's when you see that, you realize why they have trouble scoring.
Zach is Danny's son, right?
Nephew, I believe.
Nephew.
Okay. Yeah. I know he's in the family somewhere. Yeah. All right. Speaking of Florida, down in Miami, the overachieving Marlins are playing the underachieving Philadelphia Phillies.
I know Rye's going to be disappointed unless he's going to tell you that, you should sell on Kyle Gibson. But let's face it, you're facing Alcantara, who's probably the front runner for the NL Cy Young. You can't argue with a guy that's pitched at least 7 innings and 12 straight starts, especially in an era where you're lucky to see a starter go and see a team for the third time through the order. I know Philadelphia scores a lot of runs. We also know they give up a lot of runs. Gibson isn't that great. They're on the road here. We just watched them lose 2 to Toronto. They've lost 4 in a row. Miami plays well against the East, and the Phillies don't like going to South Beach. I don't know if they're too busy partying or eating Cuban sandwiches or what, but losing 5 of the last 6 in Miami and you're not facing Alcantara every night has to be concerning if you're a fan. Ryan just said, we always get beat by the Marlins, though we won the last out against Alcantara. Yeah, but you didn't beat Alcantara. You beat the bullpen.
Yeah. I mean, going up against Sandy, it's basically, you don't want to give up a run or you'll ruin your chance of a tie. That's the way he's pitching as of late. So, yeah, it'll be a tough one. This one here, I consider this just a toss-up. I don't have a lot of faith in either team. I don't have faith in the Phillies locking a game down. They can score runs. I have faith in Alcantara shutting a team down, but this is the Phillies. On this game here, I really don't have a feeling. I would like to watch this one because it seems like the storylines would be entertaining. High-powered Philly offense against an electric Miami pitcher this close to the All-Star game. There's a lot built into watching this game. I would watch this one and enjoy it. I really don't know which way to go. Everything there's too much noise on each side of the Phillies and the Marlins for me.
Now, we've talked about this before, Steven. I want to get your take. Do you think the Cardinals wish that they hadn't made the Marcell Ozuna trade back in 2017? Because you look at what they gave up. They gave up Alcantara. They gave up Zach Gallen. They gave up Daniel Castano to get Ozuna, who now no longer is in the organization.
Yeah. I'm sure from a talent standpoint, I'm sure that the Cardinals aren't happy. The PR department's probably a little bit relieved.
That's the truth. Real quick question on this one, Steve. Do the Marlins, are they buyers or sellers at the break?
Again, this is just a different perspective I have. Almost every team should be a buyer and seller.
Okay.
Very few teams, okay, I'm going to go back to 2018 Rays again.
Sure.
It's just the team I always look at is the Rays. I can go back to last year. Diego Castillo, key part of their bullpen. He gets shipped out to Seattle. They get back Chagua and a prospect. So they're kind of getting an extra year of Chagua. They're trading, they're selling, and they're buying.
Right.
Back in 2018, they were getting rid of Wilson Ramos, and they were getting rid of
right.
I won't remember all the names. They did about 4 trades, and then right at the deadline, they went and picked up Tommy Pham. And everybody in baseball was like, "Wait a minute, what are the Rays doing? They just unloaded 4 or 5 veterans, and now they're going and picking up Tommy Pham." Well, most organizations should be in the mode of win today and look at the future, and you can do that. If you still have overlapping needs between you and another club, you should be able to make a deal work. Some teams should just be sellers. When you got a guy like I mentioned, Cole Calhoun in Texas, or you've got an Andrew Benintendi in Kansas City, you've got some assets that should be able to bring you something. And you're not going anywhere. You should be looking at moving that asset and getting something back. But if you're a team like the Marlins, you can kind of play both sides, and say, hey, you know what? We have this player that we may be able to move. I'll just use somebody I'm familiar with, Jesus Aguilar. You may think to yourself, we're getting a little DH first base heavy with Cooper and Aguilar, and Soler. Maybe now is the time, even where we're at, where we should look at moving an Aguilar and maybe picking up some components that could help us now, like a reliever or a couple prospects that are closer to big leagues than that. So that would be kind of my advice to a lot of teams is don't put yourself into one column or the other. Look at yourself as, anything can happen. The Braves proved last year, hey, boom, Acuna is gone. Ozuna is gone. The team is messed up by injuries. They went out there and got, Soler. They went out and got Adam Duvall. They went out and got Rosario, I believe, from Cleveland. They went out and picked up a bunch of pieces and parts. Some were underachieving, like Soler, and Rosario was on the injured list when they traded for him. So in most teams, I would advise them to kind of try to play both sides if you have to. Miami is certainly a team that I would advise. I see someone said I'd move Garrett before Aguilar. Yeah, I can see that. You probably get more for Garrett than for Aguilar, and Aguilar might be a better bet. But
come on, Aguilar's a speed demon. He stole a base last week.
He did. First one in 700 games. Yeah. I was, that's shameful on the pitcher. That was shameful.
That just shows you that Noah Syndergaard can't hold a runner to save his life.
Yeah, that was pathetic. I don't know how that happens, and I don't know.
Here's our 2-team parlays. We did well on this yesterday. Fading the Nationals, which seems to be which seems to be a great way of making money these days.
I was kind of disappointed that Yohan Adon isn't starting this weekend, but apparently they're going to start Corbin tonight, and he's not been good.
No, he has not been good. He hasn't been able to find any pitch that works now for almost 2 years. So I don't know what Patrick has got serious problems at this point.
Yeah, he reminds me of when I joined into the call, you had mentioned Blake Snell. getting paid a lot of money to not be very good. And
Right.
Just out of happenstance, I heard, I listen to a lot of late night baseball. When I go to bed, I put a game on, usually the
Sure.
Dodgers with Charlie Steiner, because he makes me laugh on it.
I love Charlie.
Yeah, him and Rick Monday, they
Right.
don't belabor points. They just make you laugh and move on. But
Right.
Steiner said, Blake Snell owns the Dodgers. He pitches very well against them in his career. But he says right now, the Padres aren't looking for a quality start from Blake Snell. They're looking at any start of some quality from Blake Snell. And I thought to myself, that could be applied to a lot of pitchers. I'm going to put that in my back pocket and claim it as my own. And Patrick Corbin, for the last 2 years, the Nationals aren't looking for quality starts. They just want it because, he gets bombed early. It's the third inning.
Yes, he does.
6-2. And you're like, what the hell just happened, Patrick? And then he goes, retires the last 9 in the row. And you're like, well, what's going on?
Can we trust Ian Anderson? Well, I mean, are we going to talk about Ian? Are we, as Steen would tell you, are we talking about Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull? Or
right, I was going to say.
The pitcher.
Either way, yes.
But Anderson's last couple starts have been decent. He's given up 3 runs over 10 1/3. He beat Washington last weekend. Pitched 5 1/3, 2 runs, 4 hits, or 2 runs, 2 hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. He's got to learn to hit the strike zone more like he did last season. But like Jim pointed out, we're talking about Corbin, and Corbin will inevitably find a way to blow up. You look at his last few starts, 4 runs in 6 innings against Milwaukee. People point to that start against the Phillies June 16th and say he only gave up 2 earned runs in 3 1/3. Yeah, but he gave up 7 unearned runs. Then he gave up 3 in 4 innings against Baltimore. He had 1 good start against the Marlins, still ended up with a no decision despite giving up a run on 7 frames. And he gave up 4 runs on 8 hits with 2 walks and 4 strikeouts over 6 last Saturday against the Braves in a 4-3 loss. I can't trust Corbin. The Nationals don't play well at home. Well, I mean, I guess you could say the Nationals don't play
that well on the road either.
So I think you can trust Anderson here. And even if Anderson struggles, the Braves have enough arms in the bullpen where they can bridge to hopefully not watch Kenley Jansen give up another 9th inning homer like he did last night. But he did get bailed out because, Jim, I don't know if you or Steve saw the pitch that Josh Bell swung at to end the game. Bell, of course, a left-handed hitter. This pitch would have killed a right-handed guy because it would have drilled him right in the chest in the batter's box, and Bell swung at it anyway. It was not even close.
My guess is he had a dinner date that he wanted to make, so I don't know. That's one of those pitches where you look and you go, if it's not it wasn't a fastball, so he didn't get even tricked. It was just he just didn't hit it.
Well, I mean, he never should have swung at it. It was
I get that. I'm just saying,
he made up his mind he was going to swing
right before the pitch was out of the guy's hands.
He was.
You would have thought he was swinging at a pitch out.
Yeah. He's an interesting trade candidate.
I think the other interesting trade candidate, and you had mentioned earlier, Steve, is a guy who isn't a good hitter, but he's a heck of an outfielder, and that's Victor Robles.
Yeah. He's probably entering into ARB just about.
Right.
And I mean, he's somebody that, I'm big on center field and locking center field down. I mean, you could see I'm a big Michael A. Taylor fan.
Well, Michael, to me, he reminds me a lot of Michael A.
Yeah, if I was a Nationals, I would probably want to hold on. And, the center of the diamond to me, I'm such an old school guy.
Right.
Catcher, shortstop, and center field. I'm the most forgiving guy for lack of offense at those 3 spots. I mean, that to me, I watch baseball. You sit there and you watch the game between the white lines, and those up the middle positions are invaluable to your pitching staff. Right. And if I was a Nationals, and Davey Martinez, I would say, you know what? I'll deal with whatever Robles gives me offensively, but I got to have him in center field. I just have to, and that's how I would operate things, but Washington is at the, at a turning point, luckily they might get out of Corbin this year. Correct, guys?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Now they're stuck with Strasburg for a number of years.
Right.
Remaining. And I hate to be mean. I like Steven Strasburg, but I don't know how else.
Oh, actually, no. Corbin's under contract through 2024.
Holy crap. Wow.
You're not going to trade him. Is that the kind of guy we were talking about this yesterday? Is Corbin the kind of guy who could be that Andrew Miller back of the bullpen kind of 2-inning pitcher?
I'm not sure he has the control for it, but he could, go down to 2 pitch, or what is he, a fastball slider?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. I mean, it's not a dominant fastball either, right? It's but it's
No.
not. It's not
anymore anyway.
No, it never was. His
I mean,
pitch,
he got a lot of punch outs in 2018 and 2019.
yeah, no question. But
then his strikeout rate fell off a cliff.
Right, he's got that that ball that dips into your ankle if you're right-handed, and falls away from you if you're lefty-handed.
That's an interesting thought.
That was his pitch. And I mean, look, Andrew Miller wasn't exactly a flamethrower when he came in there, but what he did is he had enough repertoire to keep people off balance and off base. So,
yeah.
I'm just saying, maybe a Blake Snell and a Patrick Corbin are your new 2-inning guys at the back of the pen.
Well, baseball teams should be looking for those guys, because you get in the postseason, you got those built-in days of rest, so your bullpen stays strong, and all you have to do is go back and watch the Cubs and Cleveland, and watch Cleveland all the way through those playoffs. They leaned on Corey Kluber,
right?
To pitch a lot of baseball. They didn't have Carrasco; he had a broken leg, and they didn't have Bauer because he had ripped his hand up on the drone. Yep. So they basically had Corey Kluber and Hope, and then they had Andrew Miller. So if I was a team chasing the Yankees or Astros this year, that's what I'd be looking for.
Here's what Rye asked the question to the group: does the All-Star break make players overlook the final weekend? I don't think so personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's where a manager comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, put it this way: in the Mets clubhouse with Buck Showalter, they don't overlook any games.
No.
And if you're, I'm going to insult the manager, but that's just how I am. If you're in Phil Nevin's clubhouse, you may just,
If Phil you haven't shown up all week.
You're contractually obligated to play the games, and that's why Phil Nevin basically has.
I really go just to drift for another second.
Mm-hmm.
If I was Artie Moreno and I had Perry Messiaen, the new GM in there,
right?
And I'm gonna say something that might seem like hyperbole, but I'm 52 this summer, and been watching baseball a long time, and I don't know if there's another two more dynamic players than Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout in my lifetime.
Right.
Okay. They're buried on the West Coast. I get it. They don't have, but they're iconic what they've done. When you look at Mike Trout's career and you look at what Ohtani is doing, if I use Ohtani and Babe Ruth in the same sentence, I'm allowed to. He's proven it. You're going to fire Joe Maddon, which I understand. Okay, you want to replace Joe Maddon, but you're going to turn those two guys over to Phil Nevin. And one of the first acts Nevin does is go get into a beanball affair that ends up into a huge brawl and guys getting suspended.
Right.
And Artie Moreno and Perry Messiaen still don't shit can, excuse my language, Phil Nevin. And go out there and I don't care if you go get Carlos Beltran for the rest of the year, see if Raul Ibanez wants to take over for the rest of the year. Go reach out to Bruce Bochy, and say, hey, go ask Torrey Hunter if he's interested in managing for the rest of the year. Anybody. I'm sorry. And I've never, I know Phil Nevin when he's a third base coach for the Yankees. You guys know I'm a Rays fan. So, there's some of that coming in play here. But I've seen his act over at the third base coaching spot. I am never turning over two of the biggest stars in the game, because I could have guaranteed from day one that those two guys would at some point have a target on their back in a beanball war.
Right.
And it only took a week for that to happen. It's like
the other thing is, Joe. Look, I just don't see why they fired Joe. It wasn't his fault. I mean, I understand you want to shake things up, but
shake it up to Phil Nevin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's like turning that's turning the keys of the the Mercedes over to a 16-year-old who's never driven before.
With a temper.
Right. It's nothing good is going to happen.
I don't understand how Artie Moreno allowed that. And then after that big brawl, that would have been it for me. I couldn't turn my franchise. This is a billion. This is not exaggeration. It's $1 billion franchise. And it starts at that management
It's $1
level.
billion between Rendon and Mike Trout.
Yeah. Oh, look at the cat. All right. I'm sorry. I digress. I just, I'm still befuddled by the turning over $1 billion franchise to Phil Nevin, and I had to vent.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, that's understandable. We've talked about that too. I mean, we've had people say he was the worst third base coach in history too. So he's not getting any bump up in being a manager.
Right. So we got the 4-teamers, and the White Sox and the Twins make their first appearance this week on the board.
Yeah, I like Kopech better than I like Devin Smeltzer. Smeltzer's pitched well for most of the season, but we saw the Twins get absolutely thrashed yesterday. And, Tony La Russa's team, you really can't figure them out from day to day. He intentionally walks guys to load the bases and then gives up, big hits, and then his team underachieves. And they've had their issues, but they're still only 4 games behind the Twins in the division. So a good showing here can really tighten things up. Kopech, he's got a ton of talent if he can keep the ball in the strike zone, and that's been a concern for him. I just like Chicago. They're getting healthier with Abreu and Robert and Eloy Jimenez and Tim Anderson and all those guys. Byron Buxton is a guy with a ton of talent, and he hasn't really harnessed it because he's still hitting about 217 or something like that. And it's disappointing because you expect so much more from him. And I don't know if that's just me, Steve, if you think that he's underachieved or –
No, here's Byron, but yes, he's underachieved based on what the perception of what he could be, kind of a 5-tool guy. What he has done is said, you know what, in my career, I'm a power hitter now. That's it. No more on base percentage, stolen bases, work, all that part of his game will kind of be built in. But the one thing he's going to give you good defense. But the one thing he's selling out for right now is the long ball, slugging percentage. It's going to take some time to understand that Brian, he's not going to be that 5-tool guy. He has no desire to be the 290, 375, 500 guy. He's more than willing to be the 230, 305. And I don't know how close I am on these numbers, but 500 guy.
Yeah, he's at 212, 289, 538.
Okay, I was a little low on the slugging and a little bit high on the on base. So if we balance those out, I was probably pretty good. But no, I mean, that's who he's becoming. He's becoming he's defined himself now. So from this point on, from this season on, let's just see if he continues to try to be a 30 home run a year guy with a low on base percentage. And how many stolen bases does he have?
This year, 2.
Okay. So yeah, he's not even gonna, his idea is to stay healthy and hit home runs. We've just redefined Byron Buxton in this thing. But the game tonight's going to be very interesting. 2 things to keep an eye on, and you guys can give me your opinion. One, what's going to happen first? The trainers are going to come out to check on Michael Kopech for some kind of ailment,
right?
Or the umpires are going to issue warnings to both teams for a pitch that sails inside on somebody.
I'm going to go with the over on the umpire.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping Kopech doesn't get hurt because that would really impact the fact that I took the White Sox in this game because I'm not impressed with Tony La Russa's bullpen.
Well, it doesn't seem like Kopech is hurt. It just seems that he's always having an ailment that the trainer has to come out for.
True.
And he stays in the game. So that's, he is the Steven Souza Jr. of pitchers. I got to watch Souza down here. Great guy. I love talking to him and stuff, in the locker room, on the field and stuff like that. But even Kevin Cash, he would go down in a heap, in the outfield. Cash wouldn't even go out. He was like, just when he gets in the dugout, we'll talk to him. And Kopech's the same way. And I'm not being insulting to Kopech.
Right.
It's just, he always has something that's bothering him on the mound.
I remember with Steven.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, I remember with Souza that if he didn't have grass stains on the front of his jersey, it wasn't a game.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
he made some fantastic catches and face plants all at the same time. So, it was sad. We're going to go in a game that pits two teams going down the 405 from Chavez Ravine to Anaheim tonight. The Angels and
do
the
you have
Dodgers.
we talked about Phil Nevin. Do you have any faith in Patrick Sandoval going against Clayton Kershaw, Steve?
I'll tell you what. Remember earlier you mentioned the Nationals and they can find a way to lose. You know, you basically, I'm paraphrasing and putting words in both of your mouth, but the Nationals will find a way to lose if it's out there. The Dodgers seem to find a way to win, other than against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who unexplainably swept them in Los Angeles. They're like the team that somehow just finds a way to beat you, you know, and you're like, it's 4-2. They're down in the seventh. They win 5-4, you know, or they jump out to a 7-1 lead and they put you away early. It's remarkable. And if I'm looking at the Dodgers and Angels, and again, I had to go lay money on this game, and someone said, you know, you got to put some money down. I'll take the Dodgers and risk the, 185. I'll do it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Sandoval's he's been decent, but the Angels don't score.
That makes it tough to win. Yes.
I just don't, again, I don't understand. I understand defense at shortstop. I've mentioned that. So I'm not going to contradict myself. But you got to do better than Andrew Velasquez. Okay, you have to have a little bit more, than Andrew Velasquez and what he can give you. Gives you good defense, but, it's not like you got to do better. And just an example, that offense is in such dire straits, but they shouldn't be. You still got Mike Trout and Jared Walsh and Brandon Marsh and Taylor Ward, not Ward.
No, you're right, Taylor Ward.
Taylor Ward. Yeah, they traded the other Tyler, whatever, to the Yankees, back to the Yankees. Tyler Wade.
Yeah.
I always get him confused.
There you go. Steve, any opinions on batters' aggression after being in the home run derby?
I don't have a real opinion on it, but I did read. Now that it's a couple years old, and I'm sure you could find it online somewhere. There was a study that went into the numbers showing that it's a myth that guys struggle after. But I think that was based on looking at guys that generally tail off as the year goes on.
Sure.
And I think the premise of it was that the tail off isn't any more severe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to put a little GM hat on. I don't want my guy in the home run derby. I want him just taking it easy, enjoying the All-Star game, and coming back to my team feeling refreshed, not feeling a little bit sore from the All-Star game. Many years ago, Joe Madden used to let the guys come in for a week, right at game time or close to game time. He called it AAU week. And he said, one of the problems with major leaguers is they swing the bat too damn much. He goes, they never let their bodies shut down. And that always stuck with me. You got to let these guys, and the All-Star break to me is a time where you can shut it down. But the guys in the home run derby are going to take a lot of swings, and they're going to be sore. I mean, I can go out in the backyard right now and take a broom handle and swing it 8 times, and I'd probably be out of commission for 2 days.
Be tough. We got the Mariners and the Rangers and the Brewers and the Giants. So.
Yep, Robbie Ray's been pitching well. Apparently, he finally figured out, he's not in Toronto anymore. He's been, you look at his last 6 starts, he's given up a total of 4 runs. That's pretty good. He finally figured out that, if you want to try to defend the Cy Young, you should probably actually pitch. And he's needed to be good because if you look in those 6 games, Seattle scored a total of 16 runs and 8 of them came in 1 game.
He's had to be good. You're right.
Yeah, last 3 starts, Seattle scored a total or 2, 2, and 2. And actually, that goes back 4 straight starts. And he's won 2-1, or the Mariners have won 2-1, 2-0, 2-1, and 2-1. Ray only got 1 decision in that stretch. So obviously, you have to think they're facing Texas. The Rangers, not really that great. Matt Bush is going, so it's obviously going to be the let's throw whoever we can get out there kind of game because the Rangers having issues with their rotation other than John Gray and Martin Perez. I mean, Dane Dunning has been bad. Glenn Otto's been inconsistent. And I don't even remember who their 5th starter is, so he's obviously not very good.
Today, I think they're going with an opener with Matt Bush.
Right, but I mean, I don't know who they're going to throw bulk inning wise though, or after him because that's how bad they are.
Yeah. Robbie Ray, the last 4 starts, as you're going through the numbers, just took me back to when Felix Hernandez was pitching with the Mariners, and every time out he would give what they call a super quality start, 7 innings of 2 earned runs or less, and many times he lost. I think he won the Cy Young one year with an 8-14 record or something.
Yeah,
to that effect, But Robbie Ray is he's settling in nicely. It was interesting to look back. Where we are now. You look back at a lot of pitchers' first 4 or 5 starts, and you got to wonder what the truncated spring training may have done, especially the guys that went from one organization to another that may be pressing and maybe working with a new catcher, new defensive alignment. I know it seems weird to talk defensive alignment in pitching, but you got to wonder how that may have affected a few guys, and now as the year is going on, there's a certain comfort level with everything around them and they're taking off. And Robbie Ray kind of fits that mold if you go back and look at his game logs.
But to your point, Steve, on the defensive side and the shifts and such, anytime, there's a mistake made, that's extra pitches the guy's got to throw. And, how many times have you looked up there, guy gets 2 outs real quick, and then all of a sudden, there's a mistake made one place, another guy gets on base, and, he's making 13 pitches more than he should have pitched in that inning. So you end up with a guy who's at 85, after 4 innings when he should have been closer to 50.
It works both ways. There's sometimes when you get 2 hits right up the middle that the second baseman or shortstop is standing right there and throws them away, and you save
right
8 or 9 pitches. But the point would be, the comfort, the shift only works if the pitcher on the mound is comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was established early on back in when I started covering the Rays in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big point of discussion was, the shifting of the defense. Really, you need the starting pitcher in the center of the diamond to buy in.
Right.
Shields was not big on the shift.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was pretty much you had to fight him with it, and that wasn't good. So they didn't shift as much with Shields on the mound just because he didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So in today's baseball, the pitcher, it's more of an edict. You better like the shift.
You got no choice. So here's the big board, Steve.
Wow.
This is the one we where Chris uses everything left under the hat, and
pretty much.
And he's even now got, as you can see, his cat interns have been out there working heavily to help put together this this rather interesting group of parlays for the evening, starting with the Orioles and the Rays at the Trop.
I like the way Tyler Wells has pitched. He's won 6 straight decisions. He could be the next John Means for all we know. I don't know what you're going to get out of Patino. I know he threw 78 pitches in Durham in his last rehab start, and I saw Cash said they're not going to stretch him out any further than that.
He won't. Just to interject, he had a blister and basically hasn't pitched in about a week and a half. Mm-hmm. And he's been intermittently pitching, trying to build off that blister. So 2 things are going to be in play. 1, pitch count will come into play. I can see 2-3 innings at the most.
Okay.
And if that blister flares up, you're looking at even less. So 2 things to keep an eye on tonight is the blister issue. And he says he's healthy, fine, ready to go. If I had $1 for every time a pitcher has said that, or a player has said, I'm fine, I'm ready to go, and then they're on the 40, out 30 games or something, But anyways, I'll let you go on. I just want to let you know that's the Patino story for tonight.
So do you have faith in Patino and whoever comes in after him? I know, with Fleming being on the shelf and everything else, I'm not sure who Tampa Bay has left in the bullpen.
It's very interesting. I never doubt the Rays. Somehow they cobble together innings, and before you know it, it's the 8th inning, and they're leading 4-1, or the other offense is struggling, and with 2 runs or whatever. But I don't know how they're going to cobble tonight's game together. I don't know if they're going to bring Ryan Yarbrough to follow Patino, make it a 2-for move. I don't know. That, like you say, I mean, if Patino is only going to be kind of an opener, who are they going to go to? Ryan Thompson would probably follow, maybe Patino, and then maybe Sean Armstrong. We're looking at the traditional belly of a bullpen coming in after Patino. So, I don't know what they're going to do.
And that makes it tough, obviously, for cash because of the fact that, like you said, you don't know who's going to be in there, how long they're going to go, or anything else.
Yeah, the
Makes
last
it a
time
tough time.
the last time out in AAA, Ryan Yarbrough was pulled after 2 innings. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 2 for move where Patino comes up and Yarbrough comes up tonight. I haven't seen it on the press release yet. Let me take a look if I have anything. Here we go. I got some transactions right hot off the press.
There you go. That's the breaking news that we always look for.
Yeah, Patino is off the 60-day, and Tommy Romero, who picked up the win last night, has been sent down. Zunino was transferred to the 60-day, and Ryan Yarbrough has been added to the taxi squad. So either they're going to activate Yarbrough tonight and the move's forthcoming, or they're going to activate him tomorrow and use somebody up today.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, there you go, guys. There's your up-to-the-minute Rays transactions.
So that's good to know, though. So now you know that another move is probably coming in the near future.
Yeah.
Well, they have options. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason they went and took Ryan Yarbrough out. I watch a lot of the minor league games too, so they took him out after 2 innings, and I was kind of scratching my head like, what's going on here? He looked great too. And then it said, okay, they plan on bringing him up this weekend to pitch either today or tomorrow.
Obviously, we're looking at a bunch of props here. Aaron Judge, we know that Judge can homer. Hopefully he does, but I'll take a double. Same with Jose Ramirez. How you can get Jose Ramirez at plus money on total bases when you're facing Detroit is something I'll never understand. Vlad Guerrero gets to face the Kansas City minor league system. The Omaha Storm Chasers are up.
Yeah, they beat them last night.
They won last night. I was going to say.
I don't know if Steen said anything about that in his videos or not.
No,
but
probably not, yeah.
What do you make of, just real quick, what do you make of Andrew Bennett? Does Benintendi's trade value drop now because they know he can't play north of the border?
A GM might want that circulating out there. Like, for instance, if I'm the Rays, I'm not thinking about Toronto in the postseason and Andrew Benintendi. I'm thinking about the money that you can make getting to the postseason, And if you're a team that wants to get to the World Series, you have to get to the postseason. And if you're like the Yankees and you got Joey Gallo and Aaron Hicks out in your outfield and you can get Andrew Benintendi out there, I don't think you worry about, we might meet Toronto in the postseason and not be able to take him up north. To me, I don't buy into that. That just seems like a ridiculous way to operate a franchise.
What about when you still have regular season games up there? Because all the AL East teams will still have to go north.
Doesn't matter to me. I mean, the Rays have already played 5 games in Toronto. I think they got 4 more. So you lose him for 4 games. He gets a little break.
True.
And you take your medicine, you take your lumps. The main thing is, baseball's not the NFL where Andrew Benintendi is your starting quarterback and you lose him and you're going to go down the tubes. You could take 10 guys off the Royals. They're going to go up and play the game of baseball, and there's no guarantee that the Blue Jays are going to beat them all 4 games. If I'm a GM, if I'm the Yankees and I have a chance to get Andrew Benintendi, I'm going to go get Andrew Benintendi. If he can't play when the Yankees go up to Toronto, so be it. The main idea is, if you get to the World Series, you're not going to be going to Canada.
True.
That's what all the American League teams have to be telling themselves, and that would just be I would not hold it against anybody. If I want to go get Whit Merrifield, I'll go get Whit Merrifield and be like, great, I got Whit Merrifield. Oh, he can't go to Canada. Okay. We'll make provisions for, the Rays went up to Canada. They lost 2 of their bullpen guys, Brooks Raley and Ryan Thompson, They got put on the shelf. 5-game series in 4 days, and the Rays won 3 of 5.
Right.
It's like I said, it's not the NFL where you lose a quarterback and suddenly you have this major fall off. Where it's like, oh boy, we're in a lot of trouble. The Buccaneers lost Tom Brady. They're going to Kyle Trask or whoever they could go with. Blaine Gabbert is coming in. I mean, it's baseball. You lose guys for a couple days all the time. Give them days off. If you're a GM and you devalue Andrew Benintendi and his vaccine status because of the games in Toronto, I really question you as a GM. I just do.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's a valid point. Is because, like you said, if you're in the American League anyway, you're not going to go to Toronto for the World Series if you're there. If you have the pennant. The one thing that could be a concern, though, is if Toronto somehow made it through the opening round and you had to play them in the ALCS. But, at that point, you're not worried about it because you got to get there first.
You got to get there first. And there's a lot, everybody. I mean, you know how much money there is in the postseason for organizations? I mean, that's the key. Yeah. Get to the postseason. And, how many games, if you're I think maybe the Yankees might have another 4-game series or something like that with Toronto. But the fact of the matter is, if you're worried, if you're at the trade deadline thinking about how are things going to play in a limited 4 games or possible couple games in the ALCS or whatever, ALDS, CS, whatever, you're really not doing. You're not looking at the macro picture. You're right way micro, and way micro generally ends up on the street looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Just
as Jerry Glanville would say, this is the NFL, which stands for not for long. If you keep making calls like that in this league.
Right.
Yeah. You'll end up being a commentator for MLB Network if you got to have a big picture mindset at all times.
Real quick before we get back to Steve on some more baseball, we got Bill McDonald. Chris wants to know about some CFL stuff, and Bill asked the question, and I'm going to try to find it here. I had it a second ago.
Big game tonight, Stampeders and the Blue Bombers.
I think that's what he was talking about. Hang on.
Stamps are 4-0. The Blue Bombers are 5-0.
Here it is. Yeah.
A real good matchup. Let's see. Yeah, I like Winnipeg. They're playing at home. Calgary had a big week last week when they blew out Edmonton, but they've had their struggles otherwise. Winnipeg's got a very good defense. Calgary, sure they beat up on BC, but they also had one of the most exciting plays that I think I've seen in football in quite a long time in that game, where Edmonton missed a field goal and the guy ran it back 122 yards for a score untouched because he caught it 12 yards deep in the end zone. In the end, though, I think Winnipeg, they're at home. Kolaros looked really good last week against the Argonauts, and I think Winnipeg at home is going to be too much for Calgary to handle. As far as the total, I think it'll end up probably falling just short. I know Calgary averages better than 30 points a game, but you look at the fact that Winnipeg is very stingy defensively, and in the meetings last year, you saw 34 and 25 points on the board. And I know Kolaros sat out the second half of the second meeting that ended up 13-12. But I think it's going to end up somewhere in the low 20s, and it's going to end up under 48.
Quick question for Steve. I got one more before we go, and Chris has, I'm sure, more as well. But Steve, as we get ready for the second half, surprise team in each league that end up in the playoffs.
Wow. I'll stick with my Seattle pick.
Okay.
If you really break down Seattle, and Chris brought up some of the lack of offense, they have been doing it with smoke and mirrors, kind of, because they haven't had Haniger, Kyle Lewis, and Ty France together, for a long time. So there's a lot of people out there that expect the Mariners to kind of fall back, little crest, and now you fall back. But they're getting those 3 guys back. To me, that's a good thing. I think they're going to be a team that's going to hang in there the rest of the year. I really don't know how to view the White Sox and the Guardians. That would be if we go with who's not in a playoff position today, right, I would probably go with the White Sox. The firepower that they have is just, I think they're playing a lot worse than they actually are. Mm-hmm. I don't know the status of Liam Hendricks coming back, but I think Grandal should be back soon. Luis Roberts out there, and Eloy Jimenez is back. Tim Anderson is back. Giolito is out there. Kopech, Cease. Mm-hmm. They've got a team that should win more than they lose. So
Right.
if I was to pick a team, a surprise team that's not in a playoff position now,
Mhm.
I would say the White Sox.
Okay.
That would be my team.
Chris, any final thoughts?
No, I think Steve
Or
covered a lot of
questions?
good ground. I mean, it's always good to get an outside perspective and see what other people think about some of these things. I think it's going to be an interesting weekend as we head into the All-Star break. And then, of course, the trade deadline only 2 weeks away after we come back from that. So I think we're going to see a lot of moves coming up.
I think you're
What,
right.
what they are, who knows? I don't think you'll see Frankie Montas in Oakland.
As long as that shoulder's okay. He was going to try to. They wanted him to pitch Saturday or Sunday, but he said no. He's just going to throw bullpens and make a start after the break. So which kind of pumping the brakes and seeing where he's at.
Okay, Steve, in a dream scenario, who do the Rays pick up for the back of the bullpen?
Somebody that we don't know anything about.
Okay.
Rick Vaughn.
Could be
Rick
me.
Vaughn. Hey, did anyone see Nick Anderson with the Marlins when they brought him over and he became a lights out guy? In the
No.
I didn't see Diego Castillo for Chagua last year. I think the Rays right now, they're going to get Pete Fairbanks back, hopefully tomorrow. He did the last two. He did back-to-back in Durham. He did a one batter yesterday. He's in St. Pete today to be evaluated, and he should be activated tomorrow. So they're going to get him. Nick Anderson on July 26th will begin his ramp up, but I don't know. Michael Givens, I'll give you a name there. Michael Givens is somebody that I would like the Rays to dabble in on.
We'll trade it. We'll trade you to him for a head of lettuce and a bag of chips because, I know that he's got 5 wins for the Cubs, but Chicago bullpen has been terrible because I have to watch it on a daily basis.
There's other guys out there in Washington. Steve Cishek is somebody, who could come in and push somebody else. If you get a Cishek or Givens, you could elevate somebody else into a more backhand role. But
we'll trade you Michael Givens, and you can have David Robertson too, because we don't want him either.
Right, because he's been bad. I do like your little outfielder DH that's 32 years old, and I always forget his name. He only has like a 99 OPS plus right now.
For the Cubs?
For the Cubs.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's not Happ.
No, I like Ian Happ a lot. It's the other guy that I think, him and Givens can come.
Ortega?
Yeah, Ortega. Again, that's a marginal outfielder that I always talk about. Detroit's bullpen, I'm going to let you guys go. Detroit's bullpen is somebody I would be looking at, Michael Fulmer, Soto, but the Dodgers will be sniffing around there as well. So
nice to see the dog. How's everything going?
It's going well. One dog is having a little bit of a colitis issue that kept us up all night. I'll leave it at that. But we're working on that right now.
All right. Well, Steve, thanks for taking time from your vacation. We greatly appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take care.
Steve.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sub. Steve Kinsella, follow him on at Sports Talk Florida, and catch him on Twitter. And he's a great guy, knows his baseball, and hopefully he helped you all today get a better feel for what's going on in the league. Not just tonight and in the next couple of days, but as we get down to the stretch drive. So, Chris, some final thoughts, some final comments before we get out of here. We ran a little over. Remember, Sean Miller's come up at 4 o'clock, followed by a game time decision with Nick, Tim, and Lenny at 5. So plenty more stuff coming down the pike here on the Max Wagers Network.
As the late Gorilla Monsoon used to say, excitement personified.
Absolutely. All right.
So, and make sure you guys, enjoy the weekend, get ready for the All-Star break, give you a couple days to recharge and,
right.
Unwind and count your money,
Talk football, isn't it?
Yeah. And, but have a good weekend, be smart out there. Don't do anything stupid. And if you do, don't tell us about it. We're not going to bail you out.
Right. Chico's bail bonds. Yes.
Yeah. But seriously, enjoy the last weekend before the All-Star break and keep an eye out for any transactions because who knows? You might see somebody pull a deal now for all we know.
It's possible. It wouldn't be the first time. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Back on Monday. Take care. Bye.